every little movement of change, and we can train ourselves with qigong. That's what we were working on today. Can you be aware of every single movement of change in a larger gesture? Then can you do the same thing in your life? Looking back over the last 6 months, there was a little change here, there was a little change there, there was a little change there, and then you see how the path of enlightenment has already begun. There's momentum in the right direction, but we're so busy with so many different things we don't see it. So pause, and just as we slow down the gesture of the movement on the physical level, we can do that with our relationships, with our jobs, with our families. Slow down and look at the tiny little moments of change. So the third reminder is karma, and we talked a little bit about that in terms of the buying something nice for me turns out to be a gift to somebody else 2 months down the line, 2 years down the line, whatever. Karma is in place. If we just get out of the habit track that we've been in and do any little thing that's out of the habit track, that's a seed. And it goes into the unconscious. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this whole field that we're operating in. And many of my Qigong instructors and Tai Chi instructors talk about swimming in Qi. Well, whenever we do something with intention, that's a seed in this sea of the unconscious, and 2 years down the line, something happens as a result of that. If it's done skillfully in the present moment, away from those instinctive, rigid patterns, the only thing the earth knows how to do sometimes is grow a new plant. We put the seed in the ground, and then we stand back. The earth knows what to do with that. It breaks down the shell and it develops some minerals that attract roots, and then attracts other minerals that want to push up away from gravity. So you got some things going down, some things going up. None of that was designed by a human. It started from the intelligence of the earth, and we're swimming in that. So if we plant a seed in our unconscious, we're planting a seed in the earth. It's the chi aspect of the earth. It's the etheric aspect of the earth. It's the mental qualities that provide all the steps along the path to enlightenment. There's qualities like patience and right effort and tranquility, taking time to get peaceful. There's loving kindness. There's compassion for ourselves, compassion for the people we're around. Those allies are all growing out of this unconscious matrix. What pill are you going to take? That's the question. So, she says, she's got a little chant. Pema Chodron says, whatever arises is fresh, the essence of realization. See, grant your blessings. She's talking to the whole earth. Grant your blessings so that my meditation is free from conceptions. Every conception that I have, which includes the last 45 minutes, every conception that I have is limited and wrong in some way. What the earth does is spontaneous and fresh, and it's renewing itself all the time. Every breath, it's renewing itself through me and through you. Every cycle of the sun, every cycle of the moon, it is constantly refreshing itself. So all we have to do is get out of the way. So if we can stop our conceptions of what's wrong with this and how limited we are and how we're in this box and we have this feeling that we're in one of those chambers along that cycle there, we forgot about the Buddha. The Buddha is there right next to us. And all we have to do is bring presence and freshness to the moment and then watch what happens. We have no idea what it might be. So our willingness to sit up if we're slouching, that's an intentional act. We get started and if we slouch forward, and then just straightening up with intention is registered someplace in this sea of energy, and it makes a difference. If I look back at sitting with Robert 30 years ago, and then every once in a while I hear this voice way out on the edge of the universe say, "Jim, are you with us?" And I slouched forward, and he was hoping I wouldn't fall off my stool. And at any rate, his voice was very reassuring. Oh, yeah, I can do this. I can wake up. So, she keeps saying, I'm not reminding you with my finger wagging. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm reminding you that these are the laws of nature. That impermanence is a law of nature. Karma is a law of nature. Samsara, going nowhere, is a law of nature. Because it's based on unconscious greed, avarice, confusion, delusion, because it's built out of that, then it's going to have this crazy cyclical pattern that includes death on some level. But then there's always this new birth that comes up. And if the new birth is a seed in the middle of the road, then probably you're not going to get a full-grown corn plant with ears of corn on that. That thing's going to be rolled over by, the conditions for a seed in the middle of the road is different than a seed in a cultivated garden. So our job is to be alert to what part of this unconscious sea can I tend as a gardener and cultivate positive seeds, positive states of mind, to see what happens with patience, what happens with freshness and presence, what happens with tranquility, just stepping back from the madness for 15 minutes or half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever. There's a visual image in this cycle that kind of is overwhelming at first. Is this the way human life has been for 70 million years, round and round and round? And the answer is yes. And then the answer also is there are these Buddhas that are integrated into there. And so the Buddha that we know and we study, was able to look back at all of this samsara, supposedly for 500 incarnations, and he drew a lesson from each one and said, now I get it. The problem is the clinging, that desire and that resistance and that delusion doesn't have to be the only thing we work for. That desire without clinging can be totally workable. And so his first suggestion to those 5 guys that he was talking to in that picture back there, was, let's reduce, we all need food, let's reduce our need to 1 meal a day and ask our neighbors to provide that and see what happens. Well, what happens is the door of generosity is open, and it's open in both directions, and people express their gratitude that these 5 practitioners were willing to embody the teachings as an inspiration for them, and in exchange, they were going to take care of their bodily needs, and it's going to be real simple. Alms rounds once a day, boom. Take care of the monks, then go back to business. Now, that kind of simplicity was a key element in the Buddha's vision, that's how you prevent clinging from getting started. You recognize this body needs water, food, shelter. What's the simplest way of dealing with that? And then it looks from the outside like I have to renounce all these wonderful things about being human in order to be a monk, or I have to renounce a big chunk of my time in order to practice deep enough to see some of the benefits of the practice. So we're dealing with it in the sense of, yes, I will sit up straight with alertness. Yes, I will set the alarm 15 minutes early so that I have 15 minutes of my time to be separate from all those samsaric requirements that are out there, because there's always going to be some. But the simplest way for me is to take care of it early. Set aside the time and do it, and then the rest of the day we'll have all kinds of weird challenges and surprises, but it's much different when I don't do it. Then those challenges become obsessions that pull me into all sorts of places that are hard to get out of. But when I make it simple, there's no choice. This is what you're doing. Boom. Then the clinging is resolved, and the way out of this circle, and that gets into a whole other Dharma talk. There is a way out of the circle. It's not endlessly rolling for each individual. For the planet, it appears to be. And so there's a way out of withdrawing your deep attachment and clinging. Some people call it grab. I'm really liking that. It's not desire. Desire for a drink of water is, my mouth's getting dry because I'm talking. I thought about it ahead of time and put the glass there so I can remind me that, it's going to be easier to talk if you've got a few sips of water. So I'm not attached to that. I won't. My mind hasn't turned that into a psychodrama. It's there. It's simple. It's taken care of. And now, what's next? What's next is that we know there's going to be suffering. We know that there's a cause that's radical. It's the root of all of the suffering, and we know what it is, and we've seen it in the lives of many, many people. When we study Buddhism, for instance, we see generation after generation of people waking up and seeing the value of meditating and study and chant and interconnectedness. And then the Eightfold Path is the way we kind of organize take these three insights of suffering and clinging that causes suffering and release from clinging. We all experience that a little bit in our lives for a moment here and a moment there. Like I just took a sip of water. That was a release of a desire without clinging. If I had handled it differently, then it wouldn't have been as smooth. But it just arose and passed away. That was freedom from conflict, freedom from struggle, freedom from stress. It just passed right on through. How many more experiences can I have today that will just pass right on through? If I meditate early in the morning, it's much more likely that I'm going to have some of those easy, arising, passing away experiences. But the Eightfold Path is more of it's another list, but it's a eightfold path. It's a list that's not linear. It's your job is to pay attention on 8 levels all the time. How can I weave this in? How can I weave this in? How can I weave my actions, my view, and my training of my mind? And that feeling of having an ally in this Eightfold Path, that something in that, reviewing that Eightfold Path will take me back to that second point, and I'll see the clinging, and I'll be able to release it. It's all covered in these 8, but there's no telling which one's going to be useful tomorrow morning at 10:30. So you work with the Eightfold Path and drill those images into your mind through listening to Dharma talks and reading, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you see those in your life, and they become allies. Oh, that's how I get back to that release, is, watch my speech. My speech got me into this trouble. All right, next time I'll do it this way. So we have this Eightfold Path that outlines in general terms the ways we stop that crazy wheel from gathering momentum, and through those 8 reminders of the Eightfold Path, we can get off the wheel. Because it's going to be different. We're very complex beings, and so it's going to be different every day. We'll be challenged in lots of different ways. So, those are 4 reminders. Remembering the preciousness of human birth, remembering impermanence, and especially the impermanence right here. I am mortal. I don't have... There's one line in this chapter where she says, I'm not sure I've got 30 years left. And I started adding up, and so far she's got 28. So, if that was at all a foretelling of her end, she's only got 2 more years. It's also possible she could have died, a month after she wrote that. So, but realizing that each one of us has an end point. This is not forever, folks. This is the time we have, and we can do it with such inspiration and such grace that there'll be other people that'll be inspired by that. And the ball will keep rolling. Not this ball, but the Dharma wheel. The Dharma wheel is the antidote to this samsaric wheel. So, again, preciousness of human life, impermanence motivates us to get busy now and practice. The law of karma says there's a natural order process in this sea of energy, and anything we do with intention and skill is going to blossom into something really beautiful. We don't know how long it's going to take. We don't know the details, but it's a law. Look how many times it's happened already in your life, where you've made the right decision, planted a seed of compassion or loving kindness or joy, equanimity. You made a choice within one of those 4 realms, and sure enough, wave after wave of offspring, it's like those dandelions, those little seeds took off. That's the law of karma. And then what about this is appealing? The futility of this roadmap is something we need to look at periodically. So that book that's sitting in the middle of the room, the front cover, or I guess it's the back cover. The back cover has this wheel on it, and it's in my study. So periodically I turn and I'm thinking, I wish I could eliminate that person from my world. And then I look down and think, you're caught in the wheel. What do you need to do is slow down and see the clinging and see the potential for the little Buddha to wake up. There's a Buddha in every facet of it. So, all right. There's only 2 minutes left, so maybe we should just get the kids. Unless someone has something they need to say, I have a talking stick. But let's just, are the kids close to being at the door? Or is this clock wrong? Let's make a circle. So I've got to choose my circle, don't I? I'm down here. So feel the contact with the person close by. That's one little element in the preciousness of human life. And then good morning. Well, good afternoon. It's just a few seconds after noon. So, reach out, make connection. I'm going to have to go this close. She's got shorter arms. There we go. And do we have folks that are going to lead us? Do we have people that are going to lead us? Grace. Okay, good. So let's take a moment and think about something that's a blessing for our favorite person. Just think about your favorite friend and what would they really like? How could their life be happier? Maybe they could get a puppy. Your parents are going to be really upset with me. But find a blessing that you'd like to give to the person next to you. And even if you can't do it right now, you're wishing for the best for that person. I wish you well. The person on your left and the person on your right. And realize that we've created these circles of love that move from one hand and heart to the next and to the next, all the way around the circle, all the way around this little circle inside. We have the ability to choose to connect, and to connect in a harmless way that plants a seed that's fresh and could grow into anything. There's no limit to what might happen. So let me see if this machine works. Would you like to lead us? Okay.
May all beings be happy.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very nice, very nice. So, now we come to the fun part. We get to blow the candle out. How do we do that? Let's make sure your hair is not... We have to make a wish. So make another wish, one for you. What would you like? And just keep it secret. And we'll count and then blow. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Join us for a potluck through that door. I don't know what he said.